Ladies and gentlemen, for those who've been watching us for a very long time, you would understand that South Africa is heading up to a breakup scenario where enclaves are going to rule and the national party and the national government won't really matter for the most part. And this story today is just showing the acceleration of that particular trend. Because those who live in Joburg, like me, the poor people of Joburg who suffer relentlessly from an ISIS-based mayor, City Power, who controls all electricity in Joburg, is asking communities and businesses to protect its own critical infrastructure. The state and the city of Johannesburg is asking the residents of Johannesburg to have a moral duty to save the critical infrastructure of Johannesburg, which Johannesburg itself cannot protect. With me here is Byron, who doesn't live in Johannesburg, but nevertheless, this story is vitally important, especially in terms of the morning shot mantra.
Oh, what was that, Ramon? Terribly sorry. None of this comes as a surprise, does it? I was busy reading a book. On sheep. Far more interesting than City Power trying to rescue its infrastructure, isn't it? But at the end of the day, the infrastructure in Johannesburg is pretty much f***ed anyway. And let's face it, they sent in the army to try to protect Eskom, and what did they do? They were like, oh, well, not enough of us to protect it. We're going home, we're kind of hungry, and you guys didn't feed us. So the natural result now is that even the city's sitting there thinking to itself, this is a freaking hopeless job, and the only real way to do it now is to actually get the private citizens to come out and protect the infrastructure, because we have no other options. Is this really a surprise? When all else fails, and government's not there to protect you, who's going to pick up the slack? Well, you are, dear viewer. You are.
Indeed, and it's not just us saying it now. People are actually acting on that. Organs of state are actually following the morning shot mantra, that this is a pioneering society and that you have to defend the critical infrastructure around you because the state cannot do it. And this is a huge deal, my friends. This is a huge deal because the state has acknowledged they can't do anything. So now you, in your suburbs, after you're, putting your kids to bed, must patrol your suburbs and make sure that the cable thieves aren't stealing copper. And make sure that thieves aren't stealing water faucets or who knows what else, because the city can't do it. That is a huge admission of the dereliction of duty of the state. And for us at Morning Shot, we cannot be happier with this set of circumstances.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, in order to protect your own infrastructure, it's time to lock and load, because let's face it, the ANC ain't coming to help ya.
And as we said in last week's podcast, which is linked below, by the way, and I do recommend that you listen to it, we speak about devolved conservatism, right? It's going back to how things used to work for millennia, understanding why they worked, and adopting the practices today and in the future to make sure that civilization carries on in South Africa. We are not people who are nostalgic for the past. We don't say, look back and weep. We say, look back, look at the lessons learned by pioneers across the world, and especially here in South Africa, adopt those lessons and use them today, looking into the future with all the available technological advances that we have currently in this country. It is easier than ever to live in a pioneering society. And when the state overtly tells you that you are a pioneering society, whether you want it or not, it's best to try to be one rather than wait in hope.
Yeah, I think there is a grand degree of irony in all of this, and that is that most individuals feel hopeless and lost living in South Africa because they feel the state has too much control over their lives. And what we are here to tell you is that actually the reverse is true. The state has no control over your lives. They cannot even do the basic thing that all states should do, and that is keep you safe. So take heart in that your freedom in South Africa is secured.
And on that note, are we more optimistic about South Africa or less optimistic about South Africa? On a personal note, I'm more optimistic than ever. Irrespective of the politics, I don't think the politics is going to matter in the very short term. Irrespective of what the election results are next year, fundamentally, the state belongs to the people in a real sense, and the people will dictate what happens to it.
Yes, I am more positive about the state of South Africa. South Africa does truly remain a pioneering country, a country ahead of all of its peers, because state degradation is occurring faster in our country than anywhere else, which means that we get to go back to being a pioneering state way before the shithole Western world does. And with that respect, I'm fairly comfortable.